Hi everyone, welcome to my coverage of the 2014 Candidates Tournament. Now you may be asking yourself, hold on, didn't this tournament happen months and months ago? Yes it did, my coverage is late. Why is that? I gotta be honest, I just don't like being forced to make videos very quickly on a very short deadline. And so that's why I always record my videos way in advance to ensure that you guys have constant material. What that means, however, is, kind of recent tournaments, up-to-date coverage, it probably won't be so up-to-date. However, that doesn't matter, because what I'm really going to focus on is like one or two instructive moments from each game. That's what I try to get from each game. Every now and then you'll have an entire game that's just like beautiful from beginning to end, but generally I like to focus on those key moments. And because of that, we're going to alternate for the next week or two. It's going to be the chess history series one day, and then the next day I'm going to focus on the candidates and more modern chess. And that'll happen from time to time. All you history buffs, I'm sorry you got to wait an extra day in between videos, but hopefully you will survive and hopefully you'll enjoy this too. So, this was round one of the candidates, and Anand faced off against Aronian, and Aronian was one of the favorites in the tournament. My question to you is, pause your video and try to figure out what you would do here for white. Alright, so I'm going to show you what happened now, and a lot of you probably have already seen this game. But one thing you notice is white has the 2-bishop advantage, and the position is relatively open. How do you determine whether a position is open? Usually, it's just number of pawns on the board. Usually if there's like 6 or less, it's pretty open. 5, definitely. 8, no. 8 or 7, usually it's pretty closed. In this position, however, white doesn't really have any clear targets. But what he does is he makes one. He does two things. Number one, he opens the position even further. And number two, he creates a target by playing a very nice move, c4. What does this move do? Well, number one, it trades a pair of pawns, which generally gives the bishop more scope in a position. Number two, our plan is to put the rook on the c file and start to pressure the c7 pawn. It's kind of just amazing how well the two bishops can fare. I have to be honest, when I was a kid, and even when I was like around 2400, I had no concept of the two bishops and the advantage of the two bishops. I just didn't understand it. The positional chess schooling that kids got back then was just much lower quality. I had no idea. I mean, I knew I heard about the two bishops before, but I just had no concept whatsoever of why it was good. I remember I had a game once against Michael Moyar in the U.S. Junior Championship where he gave me some initiative, and I ended up getting the two bishops. No, he got the two bishops, and I had like bishop and knight. And eventually my initiative died out, and somehow he won the game. And after the game, he just said, oh, yeah, well, I figured, I have the two bishops, so it'll be interesting. I was like, what? What do you mean? Look, I have my knights hopping in your position. I really didn't understand it at all. Zero concept as a 2400 player. And that's one thing I like about, this U.S. chess school that I run, and just books in general have improved. But, like, kids are just going to learn this stuff. The internet, everything. You can't hide from all of these key positional ideas today. They're just everywhere. They're everywhere around you. If you're serious about chess, you're going to read about them, and you're going to learn. But c4, very good move. c6 was played. Probably he wants to avoid, say he makes a random move, well, rook here or something. Maybe he wants to avoid just the clear pressure on this pawn. So now, if pawn takes pawn, he can take back with the c pawn, and he doesn't have any weaknesses. Rook c1 was played, rook to e7, and now another move for white. What should white do here? All right. Again, he plays in the same vein. And here's the thing you have to realize. If pawn takes, this pawn is weak. But is it easy to attack that pawn? Absolutely not. That pawn is hard to attack and easy to defend. So instead, he plays another move to open up the position more and to soften up white's pawn structure, black's pawn structure with a4. So what happens if, well, if black goes here, bishop c5 wins the pawn. If he takes, for example, an a4, well, now this pawn's very weak, this pawn's weak. We even have an open file to attack it, which we didn't before. And this bishop's horrible. And white is just better here. And what if he doesn't take? Oh, he did take this in the game. And white got some nice play. But if he doesn't take, let's say he makes just a random move, like trying to find a random move that's not horrible. h5. It's pretty bad, actually. Bishop g5. Let's say this move. Now, for example, this pawn actually is weak, and we could target it right away with our pieces. I'm not saying that's the ideal thing to do, but it certainly looks annoying. So a4 was played, and black couldn't take the pressure anymore. He captured on c4, and Anand took with the bishop. And now, watch these two bishops come to life against the bishop and the knight, and these weak pawns, and this relatively bad bishop. Knight to d5. Do not trade that bishop off. And one thing I like about the two bishops is just somehow, when you have them in the open board, it kind of feels like you can do almost whatever you want, and they just control every square. Like, these rooks are not infiltrating, because our bishops just happen to control everything. It just always seems to work that way. If you just kind of don't panic, make sure you're covering everything, take your time. Black's position can be very unpleasant in such positions. To rook e6, rook d3, rook b3. I mean, he can't infiltrate. It's just like annoying. The two bishops control every key square. Bishop e3, bishop to d2. Another nice little maneuver. Bishop to a5 may come at some point. And again, every key entry square is covered. So, I mean, and you see white's just slowly improving the position. Black's just trying to make something happen, but not really able to do so. Now black goes for some little tactic here. This doesn't quite work because, like I said, the two bishops always seem to dominate these types of positions. And now this knight is really offsides, and black is in serious danger. Rook to c4, bishop to d7, and just note, if take, we can just take back. And after rook d2, your bishop's under attack at the end. So he goes bishop to d7, b3, bishop to b5, knight to b2. And the idea is, of course, if bishop takes knight, rook to d2 check. So last question for the viewers. Pause your video. Figure out what move you would play here for white. Okay. So you have to be slightly careful here. Clearly, this knight is virtually trapped. Well, however, he is threatening knight to d3, and he's going to get away. So we have to go like king e2 or king e3. I mean, bishop b2, yeah, we're going to be up a pawn, but just a pawn. The question is, which is better? Well, optically, this seems worse because it allows knight to d1 check. And therefore, you may be tempted to go king to e2 instead. With the simple idea of king d2, king c2, oh, I'm sorry, the simple idea of just taking the knight after king e2. There's a big problem with this move, however. And the key is, you just have to be aware of your opponent's ideas. Knight to c4 completely saves the knight, and now white's winning chances have gone down drastically. Probably we're still better somehow, but king e2 is a horrible mistake. King e3 simply wins the game. We do allow this check. Sorry, he went rook e8 check. But if knight to d1 check, we just go here. I'm sorry, king e2. It just traps the knight. So no reason to fear that check at all. He comes back with the pin, and this time we play this move. If king to c2 now, again knight to c4, but king to c3 is strong, and if knight to d1, he didn't play this, he resigned instead, but we'll just play king to c2 now. The knight is trapped, white wins the game. So I thought overall, well, great start for Anand in the tournament, of course, to win the first game against somebody as strong as Aronian. And secondly, just a great example of the power of the two bishops in an open position. I mean, they just kind of controlled everything. And black was really struggling to make anything happen there. So thanks everyone for watching, and tune in 2 days when we take a look at Anand's second game in this tournament. Bye-bye.